Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Diaz. Today, Chris and myself are back again for another spectacular podcast on the DC Plus Talk. Of course, we're discussing two movies in the DC film. One successful, and then the other that is not successful. Of course, we're discussing Green Lantern, the 2011 film. Of course, starring Ryan Reynolds. Oh my God, how many years now? Like I think 11 years now since that movie came out, or 13 years.
Yeah, it came
Oh
out
yeah,
in 2011.
yeah, 13 years. Oh my God. And then of course we're discussing the 2019 film of Shazam, of course starring Zachary Levi. So Chris, how you doing? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to discussing these films with you
Yeah.
and just covering more DC content.
Yes. Yeah. Because what was it? I think our next podcast we had to discuss the James Gunn slate that happened the end of January. So there's very like there's a ton we could do, and movies as well. And yes, so let's do this, Chris. Let's do it in order because Green Lantern came out in 2011, and of course Shazam came out in 2019. So we're gonna start with Green Lantern first, okay?
Okay.
So yeah, so let's do that. So I guess let's start here. So are you familiar with Green Lantern before you saw that movie? I mean, if you saw this movie in theaters back in 2011, what's your relationship with this character?
No, my relationship with this character is through Injustice.
Mm.
I actually did not see Green Lantern because I had been hearing stuff that it was really bad, and that's what definitely turned me off. And then I saw an interview with Ryan Reynolds where he admitted himself that it just didn't work. So I was like, so if the actor saying himself it didn't work, then I don't think it's probably worth watching, I guess. But my relationship with him is through Injustice and playing as his character. I think chapter 5 of Injustice, and he was very crucial to that storyline. Um,
And
that's my
Injustice 2.
relationship. Yes, and that's my relationship with him.
Okay. Do you have a favorite Lantern? I mean, it's not only Hell Jordan. I mean, there's like multiple of those.
Yeah, I
I
like both John Stewart and Hal Jordan.
cool, cool. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, I mean, oh man, like it's crazy. Like I'm not a huge Green Lantern fan, but
Mm.
of course, my first exposure of a Green Lantern was in the Animation universe, the DC AU, DC Animation universe, with the Bruce team and Paul Dini creative team, and of course in the Justice League Unlimited, John Stewart was the main Green Lantern there, and John Stewart is my personal favorite Green Lantern, and moving into like trivia and that, like before this movie was like official, like John Stewart was like around in the film production process of being the lead, and then he was also
Mhm.
going to be the lead for the unproduced. I don't know, you know this movie, but the unproduced George Miller Justice League Mortal film. And
Okay.
yeah, and he was going to be played by Common. Um, so
Common.
yeah, yeah. I can see
Wow.
that. Yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, yeah, that didn't happen for obviously reasons. But
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. Uh, so like you, I saw this movie in theaters. I think I saw this with my mom and dad, and then it was like, you know, I don't think I had any words. It was like okay, it wasn't like
Okay.
Thor or X Men First Class. That was like the week
Mhm.
of this movie, and then it wasn't even good as Captain America: First Avenger in July. So, but yeah, let me say this out loud. I think this movie is not good, but I
Okay.
don't think it is as bad as people are saying. Yes, there's
Okay.
things that you can, you know, can, can you know, c- um, critique aspects, but I think this film was okay. I mean, it has some cool ideas, but the end of the day, I just feel like the execution was really bad in this film, and I think
Okay.
yeah, and I feel like the director Martin Campbell, who he's very big. Like he did the Antonio Banderas Zorro films. He did the James Bond films, GoldenEye and
Okay.
Casino Royale.
Right.
So I think he was a good choice, but I don't think he was the right choice for Green Lantern.
Okay. And why? And oh, why do you say so? Was it? Does he have? Did he have any experience with DC Comics prior to him being
No,
chosen
I
to
mean,
direct the film?
well, it's like his resume, like he seemed perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
well, like we'll get into like the because you brought up Ryan Reynolds' interview. Apparently, him and the director didn't go as well because
Okay.
I think Martin Campbell had another idea who was going to be the lead, where versus Ryan sorry, Ryan Reynolds was the studio's choice to be Hal Jordan. So it wasn't the director's choice, and I don't like we really don't know why he doesn't like Ryan Reynolds as the choice, but it seemed more like he wanted a much more like leading man type, I guess. Um, uh, I guess for just fun, do you know who he wanted to be in the lead? Um, I,
I do
um,
not. What did he want
okay,
to do?
yeah, so it was our favorite raccoon, Rocket Raccoon, Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Which makes sense. I mean, he was coming off from Hanover, and he is leading man material, so I can see him beat Hal. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
I was. I don't know. I was thinking about that guy who played Hangman in Top Gun Maverick. I don't know. I kind of see him as like a good Hal Jordan. I forgot his
oh,
name then.
Glenn Powell, that's his name.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good choice. Oh my god, yes, I could see that. I mean, he could have been good. Because his hair is blonde, he reminds me of Alan Scott, the first Green Lantern.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so I think yeah, but he could be a good Hal Jordan. I think you're totally right. Yeah, I hope he'd be cast in the new Lanterns show that was revealed. So
Yeah. I've been hearing rumors about that he might be casted.
oh well, I hope that's very true because I like him in Top Gun Maverick. Um,
Yeah. He did his. I liked his performance.
yeah, me too. I like him. He was really great. Speaking of performance, let's discuss this. What's your opinion on Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan? Do you like it? You didn't like it? Like, where you at, Chris, with this performance?
Um. I thought. I thought that he did a good job in that. Well,
Okay.
actually, well, hold on. Well, actually, I don't think it was the right choice. I just never saw him in
Mm,
that as that kind of hero. He's
okay.
definitely more fit for Deadpool,
Yes,
and
of course.
I just think that him being Green Lantern, it just doesn't fit his style to me because he's more. I just see him more as like a funny guy. I don't really see him as like serious roles, even though he has done serious roles.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah,
see him more as a comedy play.
yeah. That's that's very true. Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, this guy's been in every superhero production. I mean, like his first major one was in Blade Trinity, the third Blade movie. Um, and even that movie, like he actually feels like Deadpool there. Was funny. And then of course he was in X Men Wolverine. That was in 2009, and of course he plays Deadpool, and we all know what happened with that. It's just like, oh my god, like it wasn't Ryan's fault. Like the studio just botched Deadpool, and then but
Hmm.
like the moments when we had like Deadpool talking, that was like Deadpool. And then before the solo movies we got later in in the decade. Um, I can see why you say that, Chris. I think he was the right choice. I think the problem was his character is so underdeveloped, and like this movie has very like it's picking the trend of what I say the comic movies was going on. Like he has a little bit of Tony Stark here
Hmm.
because the first Iron Man movie was successful, and obviously we'll get in touch, but like this movie was supposed to be the new start of the DC cinematic universe before it yeah, went to Man of Steel and all that. Um, so like I can see why, and I they don't do a good job of like for you to get into the character's psyche, you know, like
Yeah,
this movie is trying to like him, he has to overcome his fear, and like he's a courageous person, but like it is so like superficial, but also like because this movie is so cosmic, like it's science fiction. It's like they don't ground enough of the ideas and like the arc the hell's going for this movie is just not successful.
yeah. DC hasn't done a good job, in my opinion, of developing their characters and
Hmm.
just simply organizing their storylines. And as I said, in conversations outside this podcast,
Yes. Yep.
I felt that Batman and Superman should have had at least, I don't know, about two solo films to lead up to Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, because I felt
Yep.
like Zack Snyder's plans would have come to fruition, and I felt like there would have been a nice set storyline for the DCEU, and we would have seen Zack Snyder and Justice League in theaters, and we would have had Justice League 2 and 3, and it would have been a
Yeah.
heck of a story.
Yeah. I agreed. Um. Yeah. I mean, it's like it's ridiculous. They cannot even pull character development as well as Marvel. So yeah. And then comparing this to Shazam, I mean Shazam does a great job of Billy Baston as a character and
Oh,
what he's going through.
absolutely. Yeah, I feel related to him in a sense that you know he was a kid that dealt with like being alone and being isolated and trying to like find himself, and that's what I faced myself.
Hmm.
um so I can definitely relate to him, just trying to like in terms of trying to find your place in the world and what your purpose in life is.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's crazy. Yeah, and I mean, I I mean, there's a lot to say about this movie. I mean, it's just all over the place. Actually, I mentioned Thor. This movie has
Mhm.
similar problems. I mean, well, this is far worse than what the first two Thor films have because this movie struggles to be this sort of police space cop film, right?
Mhm.
And then
Right.
it's always coming back to Earth, and like and I think one of the issues about this movie it struggles to be this well this movie does the really bad decision just like the end of the world like scenario like the big villain is gonna come to Earth and like it's like the end of the world's like solution and it's like it's just too big for first film like and I think for me, I wish that this movie this differs. Like, okay, we stick with hell and Earth, and then the whole half movie should have been out of space. Him being trained by the Green Lanterns, like we saw a little bit with him and Kurlok and Sinestro, right? And then he has to face parallax in space and all that. But I feel like just jumping back and forth from space and then Earth is just very jarring, and like because for me the Earth scenes are like not spectacular. Despite I like the villain, the Hector Hammond. I really like him as the villain, but I don't know. It just jumbles too much, and we gotten better with cosmic films, in outer space. I think you know Guardians of the Galaxy did very well, and then
Definitely Marvel has, yeah, but
yeah, well, yeah, Marvel has, but I mean, DC hasn't gone as far with scientific like cosmic stuff yet, and that's so annoying. So, but what do you think your opinion on how they handle space and Earth things? Like, you think is this really as bad as Thor, or like it's really worse? What do you think?
well, I would say it's been as bad as Thor because I've been confused of where the storylines are going. And
Mm,
Shazam, the first film, it had nothing to do with any of the previous films at all.
yeah,
Um, and I'm just hoping that you know James Gunn and Peter Safran fix all of that. And he did say that this DCU is going to be like Star Wars universe.
yeah,
And we've definitely seen changes with Superman, obviously, and now with Wonder Woman 3 not happening. Where's Gal Gadot going to fit into all of this?
yeah,
So there's still more questions.
yeah. There's more questions. But sticking with the movie, I know there's a lot from the news for the DCU stuff. Um, like, y- like with the Green Lantern Earth scenes. Like, do you get like just get bored watching those scenes? I mean, it's. I mean, um, I I don't know because because for the first Thor film, they did a really good job of grounding Thor,
Hmm.
and like he has an
Hmm.
arc. And there was a reason
Right.
why he was sent to Earth. That's the thing about this movie. I don't get why we like
The thing
allowed.
is, they developed him as a character,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
saw different art. You saw different arts. You saw Thor learning about himself and his power and about Earth, and then you saw him.
caring people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, yeah, it's just crazy. I just think this movie just did such a like a missed opportunity to become like the first cosmic superhero film before Guardians did it well,
Hmm.
and unfortunately this movie didn't do well. And this is also an issue. Like I brought up the villains. The big issue I have with this movie is that this movie does the chronicle sin of every DC film is that we have two villains, and it. I mean, certain superhero films can handle multiple villains, like Black Panther or the Batman or why not, or Batman Returns. Yeah, why not? I don't think this movie handled the villains well. You know, um, I mean, Parallax is just so awful. I mean, his character design is just very much like the mid two
I'm sorry,
thousands.
who? I'm sorry, who? Say it.
Parallax. Uh,
Parallax. Okay.
yeah, Parallax. Yeah, the cloud creature. Um, the yeah, very awful. Like the design of the creature is just not like just uh, creative or original. And then Hector Hammond. I like Hector Hammond because you get a better understanding where he is as a character. Um, but when Parallax arrives to Earth, he becomes useless, and then they come off, and I just didn't like that. So,
Okay.
what's your opinion on the villains? When you saw this movie, first time, I guess.
Um, I at that point, I was just really tuned out that I didn't even care for the villains at all because I didn't even care for the story, and I just feel like this film was just all rushed and disorganized.
Yeah.
And I would just like to know, like, who was doing the writing. You know,
Oh my God.
you can definitely tell the writing was bad. And I know films are never going to be perfect. We're always going to have certain things that we may not care for in every film,
Yeah.
but it just didn't work, and that's unfortunate with films. Sometimes some films just don't work. You know.
Yeah, I agreed. And you brought up how many writers? There's like the screenplay in total. There's like one, two, three, four. So like four writers wrote the
Hmm.
screenplay. Now,
Okay.
yeah, but so the story it was actually developed by the Airverse people, Greg Berlanti and Marc Guggenheim, and there's a third individual called Michael Green. Um, so Greg Berlanti, who shaped the Airverse, was supposed to direct this movie, but
Hmm.
I think last minute he was like he left the project. I think Warner Brothers wanted a more experienced director, so that's probably why we got Campbell.
Hmm.
And so after Berlanti left and pretty much and probably Mark Guggenheim, the we got two new writers and they came over to like probably polish their script they have, and that's where we get the mess of this kind of film, very disjointed and just very unorganized, right? And
Hmm.
so I think that was the issue um with that, but also I think it's also the issue of Warner Brothers rushing the project because it
Yep.
feels like a TV movie. It
Yeah.
doesn't even feel like a big summer blockbuster. I mean the
Yeah.
action scene, yeah, like the action scenes are awful. I mean the CGI. Like let's get into the CGI. Like the CGI is okay in some areas, but then the others is really awful. I mean, this is like a $200 million movie, but
Hmm.
I don't know where they spend it. It just looks very rushed, unfortunately.
Yeah. I've been very critical of Warner Brothers and how they've been going about getting these projects and films together. And I
Yeah,
feel like they didn't allow the actors and the directors, a lot of say in how they wanted the stories to go.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I think Warner Brothers got too prideful and be like, "We're gonna take control of everything." And
yeah.
after definitely after Joss Whedon's version of Justice League, things really went downhill fast.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Even with
I mean,
even with Aquaman and Shazam, their own solo films, which actually did do well in the box office, it still
yeah,
didn't change things. So it had to. So that's
yeah,
why DC is going through what you call an extreme makeover.
yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. Still today, they just cannot let these creators do their thing. But
Right.
I mean, it's a side of the business, unfortunately, with the regime changes and mergers. It's a nightmare. Yeah, yeah, I agreed.
This previous management was really bad.
Yeah. Um, I mean, it's. I mean, I mean, this original before Kevin Tushihara took
Hmm.
over the company in I think 2013. I mean, they did okay. I mean, they gave us Dark Knight trilogy during this time, but but like we were in like size Batman. We didn't get enough GC films. Like Superman Returns didn't do well. We didn't get a sequel for that, and I mentioned the Justice League Mortal that was supposed to be the big start, but then of course the writer strike and then budget and all that just didn't let that movie to be made, unfortunately. Um, uh, and speaking of that, when we get to Shazam, there's actually two actors that were in that movie, and I will point them
Who?
out. There's two actors in the Shazam movie.
Okay.
They were in that movie, and I'll point out who's those people. So before we get to that movie, what's so I let's get back to the CGI. Uh, what do you think about the suit? Um, I mean, I like the idea of being like an energy kind of
Hmm.
suit. Like, I don't mind that. That's actually creative. But the
Hmm.
way it looks in the film, it just looks so bad, and it's like very weird. What's your opinion on the suit in this film?
Yeah, I wasn't feeling the vibe with the suit at all. It was nothing to me. It didn't really suit. It didn't really suit. The way it looks in the comics.
Yeah,
Um, and it didn't suit. It didn't definitely didn't look like what his suit looks like. In the Injustice games. Like I didn't get that green that green vibe, and I'm just now thinking about that little reference Reynolds made in
Deadpool.
Deadpool when he was like, "Please don't put me in a
And
suit that's green or animated." I was like,
yeah,
"Okay, yeah." I didn't catch that the first time, but when I saw it again, I was like, "Okay." He was making a reference to
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern. It was like,
Oh
and I
my
laughed,
god.
and I laughed even harder than I did the first time.
Oh my god. Yeah. Him just jabbing this movie is so funny, and I mean
Yeah,
Deadpool
yeah,
too.
exactly. That's how you
And
know it was bad.
yeah, exactly. And when he stopped him, like stopped Ryan Reynolds to make the movie, and just shot him in the head. It's just so funny, and it's just oh my god, it's just pure perfect meta stabbing of this movie, and it's just oh my god, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, like they could have gone some direction with Green Lantern with the suit. I mean, like you mentioned the Injustice. Yeah, I like the Injustice suit, especially Injustice 2. I like the Green Lantern suit there. That's pretty cool. But yeah, ugh, oh my god. Um, yeah, and then what else? Oh, the supporting cast. I mean, we got Ryan Reynolds' wife here, Blake Lively, who plays
To be
Carol.
honest, I don't even
Yeah.
know. I don't even know any of the other actors besides Ryan Reynolds.
Oh my god, that is so funny because the friend who's Hal's friend. Um,
Hmm.
do you recognize him?
No, not at all.
Oh my god, that's Taika Waititi, buddy. He's in this movie.
Wait,
Uh,
wait.
yeah,
Tina Kureta?
yeah, Taika Waititi, the director
Oh,
of the
Taika
two.
Waititi. Oh, wow. Who was he? Who was he?
Okay, so he's the friend. Here. I don't know if you remember the name, but he's named Thomas Kambu or uh, come on. That's the friend with the glasses. Do you see him a couple times? Um, that's Taka Waititi. He's the best friend of Hal Jordan in the film.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, he's in that. So it's very funny just watching that. He's actually here, and then he's this now recognized director slash actor. It's just crazy that he's in
Right,
this movie.
right. Yeah,
Um,
I
uh,
just know him. I just know him from Free Guy and Thor: Love and Thunder.
yeah, I know. And that's funny. He's renewed with Ryan Reynolds and Free Guy. So
Right,
this is like,
exactly.
yep, yep.
He was
Okay.
funny. He was funny in that film, though.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Disney Plus. I should check that out. Um, okay, and then I mentioned Blake Lively. That's the wife of Ryan Reynolds. She plays the love interest, Cara Ferris. Um, she's a complicator. She becomes a supervillain named Starfire. Um,
Mm-hmm.
well, an anti-hero basically in the comics now. But yeah, she was okay. I mean, she's a good female interest, but she's very stereotypical female interest in the movie. I mean, like they did
Well,
the
that's not a surprise.
yeah, yeah, I know. But the way they get her to know Hal was Green Lantern is so weird, and it was like so typical because at this point the secret identities became useless now because of the Marvel movies. So I don't know. It's just, yeah. She's okay. She's here. It's nothing special. She's just like Jane Foster in the first two. It's just like she's just there. Or
Okay, so
Chris.
not much of a presence in this film.
Yeah, and they do the thing where they're not together, but you don't understand their reason of not being together, like all that. Like they never go into their relationship. Unfortunately,
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, and then speaking of the villains, Hector Hammond, you do recognize
Mhm.
Hector Hammond. That's Peter's Sarsgaard. That's the one that played the attorney in the Batman.
Okay.
He's the one that is strapped with the bomb, and he's the one in the car that crashes in the mayor's funeral. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's him. So he plays the main villain. And of course, he's the brother of the others, Skarsgård. people. Alexandro Sarsgaard, Bill Skarsgård, who played It in the It movies. So yeah, big family, and of course the father, Stellan Skarsgård, who played Eric Savick in the Thor movies.
Oh wow, that definitely is a big family.
Yeah,
That's a whole Hollywood royal family right there.
yeah. Oh my god, they have another brother who pops up in Westworld season 2. I didn't know. So yeah, very funny.
Oh, have you seen that show Westworld?
No, not yet. I just see reviews and breakdowns and
Well, I
all
can
that.
tell you. I mean, I can tell you for sure that there's like a lot of like nude people in that show. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I know that there's a lot of
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
full frontal nudity.
I mean, that's typical with HBO, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, HBO is something else, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then of course Sinestro. So speaking of Shazam, Mark Strong plays Sinestro. So
Yep.
and yep, and of course,
I didn't see him in a yellow suit at all, and that was very disappointing.
did you see the post credit scene? Um,
I did, but I don't know. I just wasn't. I didn't like. I don't know. I think it was the portrayal that turned me off.
mm,
It just
yeah.
he was just like your typical like I want to take over. I want to rule. I just wish that there was an arc to him where you kind of like understood where he was coming from. Not
Yeah,
just to me, he was just your typical
bad guy, or I mean, like
typical bland villain, trying to play God, something like that. I didn't
yeah,
like that at all.
yeah. I totally agree. I mean, they just completely underutilized Sinestro in the film. Like okay, like in the DC animated films and in the comics, they this is very accurate before he becomes, the little lanterns. I I like the
Yeah, and
idea
not
he.
even like any references to Injustice or Superman, because like I think in the Injustice comics,
Hmm.
when Superman, just forms his one Earth government, he does like form an alliance with Sinestro,
Yeah,
and I think he gets into a cosmic war with like the Green Lantern Society. There was not
yeah,
there
yeah.
wasn't anything connecting that at all. Like nothing related to those storylines at all.
Well, just remember, Injustice came out in 2013, so that didn't happen yet. So when this movie came out, but during the comics, actually, it's sort of weird with this movie. In the comics, before Sinestro become bad guy, he was actually a mentor to Hal before
Hmm.
he turns. So they were doing a comic accurate thing here, but the thing with his mentorship with Hal is way too short and just not enough time to develop this like amity relationship between Hal
Hmm.
and Sinestro. Whenever we get a sequel, which we didn't get, because the movie fell, so they
Right.
didn't really build that ground up really between Hal and Sinestro at all in the movie. It's just very haphazardly, like you blink and miss it kind of thing. And then the little, you know, uh, during his time, Jeff Johns had the huge, rainbow spectrum that was going on during the Green Lantern comics. The Blackest Night. We had the blue lanterns now, and then the orange, the red lanterns. At this time when the movie was coming out, like because Green Lantern became so popular at around 2007 and 2008, and this movie just feels like they don't really put a lot of the new modern stuff that about Green Lantern.
Hmm.
uh yeah, so yeah, Sinestro was very disappointed, and that post credit scene is so like useless now. I mean, like we're never gonna
Oh,
get pay off the Sinestro cars and all that.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it just goes back to the DCEU
Hmm.
not allowing their creators to have really control over these storylines and
Yeah,
not really and just confusing their fans. And that's what I've been so critical about. And
yeah,
I really hope that, and now we saw the and now we won't be seeing Black Adam anytime soon.
or it's a Sam,
And
really.
right. Well,
I mean, we, we,
yeah,
we we really don't know what's going to happen with them too.
with
So
well, yeah, exactly. We still have, Fury of the Gods coming. I think it's going to do well. Megan
yeah,
Good had saw it, and she said it was really funny. She said it was really good. So I'm
yeah,
confident there. As far as Black Adam, it's crazy how The Rock, he was casted, way before the movie even went into production. And he was
yeah.
casted, I think, sometime around 2008, I believe. He fought,
I
I think,
mean, 2007. I think that's what they say.
2007. So,
Yeah,
like,
right. And then
he
it.
really, he
Well,
really fought for that film. He really fought for that film. He put a lot of work into that film,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then he
Well,
did, yeah, and
yeah.
but
It's complicated. Just I want to stick with the film. Let's not go too far with the DCAU. I know there's a lot of, I mean, mistakes they did, and just no plan at all, really. I mean, this is like the 10th year since Man of Steel came out, and we have this universe, and just completely just Jordan and organized,
yeah,
disorganized. Um, and speaking of shared universe thing, I I'm very surprised. So you don't recognize any actors in this movie, right?
no,
Um,
besides,
besides Reynolds. Okay, that's
yes,
funny because okay, let me go to this next one. Amanda Waller was in this movie. I'm surprised you didn't recognize that. Um,
I didn't. I
yeah, Amanda
did.
Waller is in this movie, and you know who plays her? Uh, freaking Angeli Bassett plays her in this movie.
She plays Amanda Waller.
Yes, and that's such a great casting for Amanda Waller. I love Angela Bassett. Oh my god, yeah, yeah,
I
that's
would,
her.
she does make a good Amanda Waller. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Viola Davis, but
Yeah,
definitely
I know.
Angela Bassett's got to be up there.
Oh yeah. So she's here. That's like a clearly average like setup for a universe, maybe. Yeah. Again, I mean, just completely useless. I mean, under the ice in this film, you know. And with because Waller is with the senator, that's the father of Hector Hammond, the main villain, in Earth. He's played by Tim Robinson, who's the famous actor for Mystic River, and he's actually in Howard the Duck and all that. Um, or he's mostly famous for Andy, uh, play Andy from the Shawshank Redemption, the
Hmm.
Stephen King movie, that's directed by Frank Darabont. So he plays the senator, and then getting into and Parallax is voiced by Clancy Brown, who is famous for voicing Lex Luthor in the Superman animation series. And then the other Lanterns, particularly Abin Sur, Tamar Ray, and then Kilowog, are played by three great actors. Ebon Sor, the lantern that gives the ring to Hell, he's played by Aquaman's father, um, Timon Morris.
Hmm.
So he's in this movie before he plays Aquaman's father in the Aquaman movies. And then Tama Ray is played by Jeffrey Rush. He's that very English actor that you saw. He's one that like the one that takes Hell to the journey to Oda, the planet
Hmm.
the Green Lantern station at.
Right.
And then Kilowog is played by another great actor I love, and he's perfect. Michael Clark Duncan plays Kilowog.
Oh,
Uh,
rest in peace to him.
yes, and he's so perfect for Kilowog, and I hate that we didn't use him right. Oh my god, yeah. So that's the cast. I mean, very stacked cast, and I mean, uh, you know, like you see here, like everyone gets a short shift in this movie. Like they don't get enough development. They are not,
Yeah, that's
you know,
really sad.
yeah,
And
and
to speak, even if you have a good cast, that doesn't guarantee the movie's going to do well. I mean,
exactly. So
if the storyline or the execution is weak, it doesn't matter who the cast is, the movie won't do well.
yeah,
Regardless.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's just crazy. They this is like a great cast for a superhero movie. Like, I mean, this is a really organized cast. I mean, for 2011, I mean, it's up there for Captain America or Thor, maybe. But
Hmm.
excuse me, but yeah, it's just the cast didn't help save this movie. So, and that's really sad. Excuse me. Okay,
Or you're confused.
yeah. Okay, so let's see what else we need to cover. I mean, oh, here. So apparently, in my notes, the director say he heavily criticized the studio for hacking the film to pieces during the editing process. That's the thing. This also has like a director's cut, or like they have additional scenes they put back, and I saw a little bit of
For
it.
Green Lantern?
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
okay. It's nothing special, really. It doesn't add to the film story or improves it, really. So it's yeah.
I mean,
So because he claims with the omission of the alternate enormous elements that could have made the film stronger. That's what. So like again, Warner Brothers doing the same thing what they did with
mhm.
Batman v Superman and the
Yeah,
Suicide
not
Squad.
allowing creative control.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. What else? Uh. What else that was kind of interesting. Apparently, Zack Snyder was the first to direct this film. So, but he turned down the offer because he had commitment to Watchmen.
Oh, because
uh,
at the time he was working on Watchmen.
yeah, I mean, because
Okay.
the Watchmen we commit to 2007 before the '09 release,
Oh,
which
right.
makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, and the thing also, what else? I think I think that's really it. Um, I oh my god, this is funny. Apparently Eddie Murphy was considered to play Jon Stewart, in the film, but this character was only cut from the script.
So, John Stewart. So, was there an actor casted for John Stewart at that time, or not yet?
Not yet. I mean, uh, I I like because Green Lantern is not a one person taking the role,
Hmm.
because we have multiple lanterns, right?
Hmm.
I mean, the idea of having another lantern in the film makes sense, but it feels like they never committed to that because it was just like because you have to be cautious with how many characters you have in your film, you know,
Right.
because sometimes you're gonna lose sight sometimes for these characters, or they're gonna be underutilized in the film, you
Yeah,
know.
you definitely don't want to have too many characters in a film. I mean, it's important that each character has its own arc, but at
Yeah,
the end of the day, you have to focus on the main character because the main character is
yeah, the
the
point one.
first priority in telling the story.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but I mean, again, I'm not opposed to that because you're gonna have like we seen dual protagonists. Like Lethal
Hmm.
Weapon did it well, and
Yeah,
and I mean, Rush Hour, I guess. Rush Hour. Well, Rush Hour, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So I mean, like I mentioned the Space Cop film. Like you can have a buddy cop film for Green Lantern, and that makes a whole lot of sense. I think the problem with this is this movie didn't took a lot of risk, and just like a lot of it plays safe, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's why. honestly, as I've thought about it more, I'm actually kind of glad that this coming Green Lantern will be um in a series, and at least
Yeah,
I'll get to see him on TV, and I have faith that his character will be his character story will be properly told, and you
yeah,
know and as far as his personality and his mannerisms, that will be portrayed more accurately.
yeah,
It certainly wasn't, in my opinion, with uh Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern.
yeah, yeah. I agreed. Yeah. I mean, I think every comic book character can work on TV. Um, I mean, it's just a better format to expand more stories you want to see in the screen, and give the supporting characters more development than they usually get in movies. Um, yeah, and I think I prefer the Green Lantern to have a show than a movie because it's just way too much for Green Lantern to did
Yeah,
because there's
there's a lot of stories to tell with that character.
yeah, and characters too. A lot of people. I mean, besides the main players, people like the other lanterns they're supporting, like Kilowog. I mean, Kilowog is the well-known one. But yeah, not a good start. I mean, and it's just sad that Warner Bros. Just took so long to just get like a new project off the ground. Like I mean, this movie, yeah, the movie didn't work, but like I think there was always a chance to get a new one in 5 years um or eight. Like I think that's a good amount of time. Like 8 years after this movie, I think that was gonna. But 13 years, is like 13 years since this movie. We haven't had any luck of like a live action like Green Lantern thing. And speaking of the DCEU, like we were supposed to get one in the Justice League movie, but then of course we
Hmm.
got short shifted
Yeah,
again.
we were supposed to get one in the Justice League movie. He was supposed to appear in Justice League 2, and the way
Yeah,
the his appearance went
yeah,
was that
exactly.
in the beginning of Justice League 2, this was at this point the the nightmare sequence has happened already.
Yeah, yeah,
Darkseid invading Earth, and Superman being corrupted by the anti-life equation.
right. Yeah,
It was going to be him, Batman, the Flash, a torn up Cyborg, and Deadshot, and they were all going to team together to you know, undo the nightmare sequence. So
yeah, yeah,
we were supposed to see Green Lantern, and then Martian Manhunter was supposed to be revealed in Justice League 3 instead of Zack Snyder's version of Justice League. The first
yeah,
one.
yeah. I agree. Yeah, well, and that makes sense because he had a movie schedule too. That's like that was supposed to be the main. After the whole the situation with Zack and the Justice League movie, we didn't get a Green Lantern movie, and so like just again we got short shift with Green Lantern. Yeah, so my God, and we were supposed to get John Stewart. That's the thing. It was John Stewart that was going to be the main Green Lantern, right? For the Snyderverse. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. It, it would have been a heck of a story. I mean, at least, we got to see what their plans were, after what
yeah,
they were working on after, not too long when Batman and Superman came out, because when as the DCU was promoting Batman and Superman, Zack Snyder and Jim Lee had already been writing scripts and mapping out ideas for Justice League 1, 2, and 3. It
right,
would have
right.
been a heck of a thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Oh man, oh my God, 13 years and this movie. And it's funny, every actor from this movie got at least a successful career. I mean, like
Right.
Reynolds got a chance to do Deadpool. I mean, Angela Bassett got a chance to be in a successful comic book movie, and presumably gonna get her first Oscar.
Hmm.
Too. You know, with
Hmm.
the role. You know, of Ramonda in
Right,
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. You know.
right, right.
And then, Mark Strong got into Shazam, which was a more successful film, and he played a good villain. And on the rest, got a chance to do other things, and so that's good. Yeah, so it didn't hurt them, but but it definitely hurt Green Lantern as a brand. I feel like, um, like he appears here and there, but like he's no longer as popular as he was when Jeff Johns took the character in 2006, and just I don't know. So yeah. Anything else to say, Chris, about Green Lantern? Are you ready to move on for Shazam?
Um, yes, I have more to say on Green Lantern. I just,
Okay.
I want his story to be fleshed out properly, and I want to see him.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to see him on screen. I don't want to see, Ryan Reynolds, because I know I'm going to be, really, really, really angry if I do.
Yeah.
But you know, I really want to see, his story be fleshed out.
Yeah. I agreed. And hopefully, this HBO Max series will do it, and I have total faith when Jay's gone, and so yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Well, we have to wait. We have to wait for
Yeah,
it to come.
I think Guardians 3 will stay a lot for me, and how
Yeah.
much faith I have in James Gunn with DC.
No, no, no. That I agree. Yeah, that's very true. But yeah. Oh man, it's crazy. Anything else to say?